Namaskar, namaskar. Welcome back to another live Thursday evening, 7 p.m. Hope you guys doing fantastic, and I'm doing really great today, especially with the special guest that I'm bringing for you guys. Uh, Really, really exciting because this is a fan moment. So, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, today we have a author of a book, one of my favorite book in recent times. That gave me a lot of insight and confidence to thrive in the sales business. But of course, I have him for you guys, who is none other than Bob Burg. Sorry if I pronounce your name.
Perfect. Perfect, Aditya. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's great to be with you.
Yeah, thank you. Like I was telling you offline, I'm a huge fan of your book. I read it very recent times, suggested by one of my good friend, who is a salesperson and he trains salespeople,
Uh-huh.
and he suggested, you must read this book. And I didn't know what to expect from the book because he suggested, and he generally suggests very good books. So I picked it up when I was traveling to Calgary. On the flight, I took the book with me, and I started reading, and I couldn't stop. By the time I'm back from Calgary, this is like a 2 days trip. I wrapped my head around the whole book, and I'm like, wow, this is like amazing.
Well,
So
thank you.
thank you for that. So for people who don't know you, can you give a little bit background of your story? Who you are, what inspired you to write this awesome book, Go
Well,
Giver?
my background is in sales, and
Mhm.
I really enjoyed sales. I still do to this day, and I enjoy the personal development aspect. I enjoy studying human nature and success, and I had the great opportunity and privilege to get together with a guy named John David Mann, who was editor in chief of a magazine I used to write for, and a brilliant writer. And we had this idea that we were discussing, and we kind of developed the Go Giver principles around it, and that's really how it happened. John's a great entrepreneur and wonderful writer, and both of us in our different journeys of life have studied success and had successes and had failures, and just kind of put it together and shared the principles that we felt were something that would bring some value, hopefully, to the marketplace. And
Yeah.
we're very honored that it was so well received.
Yeah, definitely it makes a huge impact, right? But for those who haven't read this book, what inspired you guys to write this
Yeah.
book?
Well, there's a basic premise to the book, Aditya, which we felt we wanted to share, and it's something that we saw in people who were sustainably successful, right? And it's simply that shifting your focus. This is really where it all begins. Shifting your focus from getting to giving. Now, when John and I say giving in this context, we
Mhm.
simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others. And it's understanding that doing so is not only a more fulfilling way of conducting business, it's actually the most financially profitable way as well. And not for any kind of, woo woo, way out there, magical, mystical type of reasons. Not at all. It's actually very rational. It makes logical sense. When you're that person who can take your focus off of yourself, move from an I focus or me
Mhm.
focus to a focus on serving others, discovering what they want, what they need, what they desire, helping them solve their problems and challenges, helping move them and bring them closer to happiness. People feel good about you. People feel great about you, right? They
Yeah.
want to get to know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to be in relationship with you. They want to do business with you directly if they need what you have, or but certainly through introducing you to others, being what we call your personal walking ambassador. So
Yeah.
that's really what inspired us to write it. It was sharing that message.
I am a big believer now of giving, but I'm looking back my 5 years down the before I got into the giving mode. I can, I had a big concern, like, when someone told me, oh, giving is the way to go receive, I would not believe. So there were so many misconceptions, right? If I give, people will take advantage of me. People will, take. So what's your message for those who are, in it's still, where I was 6 years ago, 7 years ago, you know.
Well, I think people, they hear the title, the Go Giver, and they think it's about just giving yourself away, giving things away for free, which it's not about, by the way. Go Givers actually tend to be at the higher scale of the price range because Go Givers sell on high value rather than low price, right? We're very value focused. Or people think it's about being, taken advantage of because you're just giving yourself. Well, can you be taken advantage of? Well, anyone can be taken advantage of. And I always say to people that if you find yourself in a pattern of being taken advantage of, I don't mean every so often, because as human beings, it's going to happen unless we never leave the house. At some point in our life, someone's going to take advantage of us, right? But I'm talking about a pattern of being consistently taken advantage of. If that's you, not you, but if that's a person who has that question, it's not, you're not being taken advantage of because you're a nice person or because you're a giving person. You're being taken advantage of because you're doing things in a certain way that creates the environment for you to be taken advantage of. Okay. And so it's important, first of all, if that is the case, to understand that and to acknowledge it. And I say congratulations to anyone who does, because acknowledging that there's an issue is the first step to being able to deal with it effectively. Right. So
Yep.
so one question is to ask yourself, and it's always unconscious, right? Nobody goes out there to starting the day and says, hey, I think I'll look for someone to take advantage of me. No, it's always unconscious, and there's a reason for it. Now, different people, this happens for different reasons. For some people, as my friend prosperity expert Randy Gage says, it's a worthiness problem. They don't feel they're worthy of being treated correctly by others. Again, it's unconscious. It's not something you think about happening. For some people, being a victim, there's a payoff to it, because you can be the victim that everybody can feel sorry for, and you get, again, there's a payoff there. You get some sort of joy from that happening. It could be that being the victim allows you to kind of rationalize not being as successful as you could possibly be. Or maybe you just don't have the tools to kind of recognize when someone is. So there's all sorts of reasons, but it's important to really dig deep, question your premises, and ask why this happens to you so often, where other people who put themselves out there and give great value to others seem to have success at every turn.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's really where we've got to go, and we've got to kind of put that false premise aside that being a giving person or being a go giver is somehow congruent with being taken advantage of. It's absolutely not at all.
Makes sense. I'm going to just interrupt here because someone commented saying that they cannot hear us. Um,
Is my
okay, can
microphone
you?
working?
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I can
I can hear
hear
you.
you loud and clear. So
Okay.
maybe let me
Is
just.
there, are there some maybe other listeners or viewers who can let us know if
Yeah.
give a thumbs up or what have you,
So
if they can hear us, because it may be that person's computer, or it may not be.
yeah, it's possible. Can you guys hear us? Just give me a thumbs up. Can you hear?
Of course, if they can't hear us, they wouldn't know the
Yeah,
question.
that's why I'm commenting in there. Just asking.
I didn't think of that when I first said, "Hey, why don't you ask them if if you can't hear me, let me know." Right?
Yeah, and it will be recorded and posted. Of course. Yeah, you're audible. Perfect. Glad that. Thank you for confirming that. So I can completely relate to what you said. Personally, I felt I was taken advantage, in my previous career. But since I started social media journey, like sharing all the tips and the knowledge that I have related to real estate, my business actually grew double every year. I'm
Yes.
like, that's the concept. Like, like I was telling you off the offline, when I was reading the Go Giver book, half the concepts I felt like I'm already doing it,
Right, right.
but I didn't know, actually it's the ideology of being a giver. Because when you are giving, maybe some people would take advantage of your information. That's great, because they're taking advantage, so they're going to come, either give you a business in some way or the other way. For me as a realtor, like, people who are getting information from me,
Hmm.
who thinks that this guy knows a lot, let me work with him, because I get the service that
Absolutely, sure.
but a lot of listeners who are watching, who's going to watch this video after, most of them are either investors, real estate investors, or real estate salespeople. Does the Go Giver concepts applies for these people, or only for entrepreneurs who are making a big business?
Well, as far as people selling real estate in terms of being realtors, yeah, probably my biggest speaking market. I probably speak at more real estate conventions than anything else. As far as investors, it's still the same. And the reason is, and here's the, and what John and I said in law number 3, the law of influence is, as Joe learned from several of the mentors, the golden rule of sales, of business, what have you, is that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
And so the same holds for a real estate investor. This person who you're going to help out of a difficult situation, but who feels very, defensive maybe, or they're going through, when you're able to really empathize and come at that from the heart and really care, and it's communicated to them that you do have their well-being, their best interest at heart, they're much more likely to want to sell to you or to want to do business with you than maybe somebody else who sees it as just transactional.
Yeah. So true. So that brings me to the wonderful question, because in this book you talk about the 5 laws. You and John, really stress on those 5 laws. If you don't mind, can you give us overview of what
Sure.
these 5 laws are? Um,
So the 5 laws themselves are the laws of value, compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity. Law number 1, the law of value, says your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Now, when you first hear that, it can sound sort of counterintuitive. Give more in value than I take in payment? Isn't that a recipe for bankruptcy? No, it simply means that the overall experience you provide to a person is so immense and so wonderful, far beyond just the value of the product or service itself, that they come away having received much more in value than what they paid, while you still make a very healthy profit. In any free market based um, exchange, and when I say free market, I simply mean no one is forced to do business with anyone else, right? People are doing it on their own volition. So in any free market based um, um, exchange, there are always two profits: the buyer profits and the seller profits. Okay. Or the business person and the customer, or however you want to say it. Both parties profit because both parties come away better off afterwards than they were beforehand. But it always happens because the salesperson is the one who is able to focus on that other person. John coined a great saying that we have in our follow-up book, Go Giver Sell More, and that is that money is simply an echo of value, right? Money
yeah.
is an echo of value. It's the thunder to value's lightning, which means nothing more than understanding that the value, the focus must be on the value you're providing another person. The money you receive is simply a natural result of the value you've provided. So that's really what law number 1 is all about. Law number 2 is the law of compensation. This says your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So where law number 1 says to give more in value than you take in payment, law number 2 tells us that the more people whose lives you touch with the exceptional value you provide, the more money with which you'll be rewarded. So you may recall Nicole Martin, who was the CEO, the former school teacher who is now a CEO in the story. She suggested, excuse me, to Joe, the protege, that the law of value represents your potential income, but the law of compensation represents your actual income because it's all about how many lives you impact. And that's
Yeah.
the key. So we could say exceptional value, law one, plus significant reach, law two, equals very high compensation. Now, law number three is the law of influence. And this says your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. Again, sounds kind of counterintuitive when you hear that, but we know the greatest leaders, top influencers, uh, highest money producing, sustainably money producing salespeople. This is simply how they run their lives and conduct their businesses. They're always looking out for the other person's interests. Um, Now, by the way, and again, just to kind of reiterate something we talked about earlier, when we say place the other person's interests first, we don't mean you should be anyone's doormat or a martyr or self-sacrificial. Not at all. It's again, as Joe learned, and we talked about this earlier, the golden rule of business, right? All things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. Well, here's the thing: there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you in others than by moving away, moving off of yourself and focusing on them. Or as Sam, one of the mentors in the story, told Joe, it's making your win all about the other person's win.
Yeah.
And that's so key. Law number four is the law of authenticity. This says the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. And in this story, Deborah, who was the realtor in the story, she she shared a very powerful lesson that she had learned, and that is that all the skills in the world, the sales skills, technical skills, people skills, as important as they are, and they are all indeed very, very important, they're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core. But when you do, when you show up as yourself day after day, week after week, month after month, well, people not only feel good about you, they feel very comfortable with you and they feel safe with you. And why wouldn't they? They know who they're getting. And see, in an inconsistent world, but also a world in which we crave consistency because we want to understand this often understandable world or not understandable world, right? It's
Yeah.
that people who shows up consistently, authentically, that's the person who not only inspires trust, but is able to build, really build and sustain that trust.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. And then law number five is sort of the one that brings it all together. This is the law of receptivity. And this one says the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. Uh, this really, this really means nothing more, Aditya, than understanding that, yeah, you breathe out, you also have to breathe in.
Yeah.
It's not one or the other, it's both, right? You breathe out carbon dioxide, you breathe in oxygen. You breathe out, which is giving value, you breathe in, which is receiving value. Giving and receiving are not opposite concepts, but the world kind of fills us with anti-prosperity messages. You think that anybody who makes a great living, anyone who earns a lot of money, did it on the backs of others or through some nefarious means or through. Well, it's a big world. There's plenty of people who do things in a way we wouldn't agree with, certainly. But for all of us who are in a business where nobody is forced to buy from us, no one's forced to do business with us. The only way we can earn a magnificent income is by providing magnificent value
Yeah.
a lot of people, right? So not only is giving and receiving not opposite, giving and receiving are two sides of the very same coin, and they work together in tandem. It's not are you a giver or a receiver, right? John and I call that the treacherous dichotomy or the false dilemma, the unnecessary use of the word or. No, it's you're a giver and a receiver. However, what we all know is that the giving comes first. This is universal law. These are laws of nature. uh, physical nature, right? We plant before we harvest. We
Yeah.
sow before we reap, we give before we receive. But when we can do this, when we can give lots of great value to the lives of many, placing their interests first, coming at it from our true authentic core, and then allow ourselves to receive, well, you will receive. You'll receive in abundance, you'll receive an abundance.
Yeah, that was the last law that you mentioned. Um, I never took that seriously. I thought, when someone says, you look handsome, like oh no, don't worry, the
Right.
other one. Uh, that was a big thing. Like when I understood the other side of it, when I read your book, like the example that you guys gave in the book was like, now the other person gave you the compliment, and if you're not taking it,
Right.
the person is will not be any more interested to give you.
You bring up something very important because when people say, well, how do you really allow yourself to be receptive? Because, John and I receive more emails from people telling us that the first four laws, they got, they understood that. Okay. It was the fifth law they had the most trouble with.
Yeah,
Right.
me
And
too.
so we're often asked, well, so how do you, allow yourself to receive? So there's two things. One is I would proactively make a study of abundance. Because again, we get so many messages from the world that are anti prosperity and anti abundance. There's people out there like Randy Gage, David Nagel, Sharon Lecter, Ellen Rogan, the late Bob Proctor, Ken Honda of Japan. There's a lot of great teachers out there on prosperity. And they write, they blog, they post, they do videos, they have all these teachings. I believe that we need to really, I listen to these every day. Why? Because again, I'm subject to the same thing. You get these horrible anti prosperity messages. I want to get the good stuff coming
Yeah,
in. So proactively, we need to do that. Okay. The other way is, and this is what you were referring to also, is we build on our small successes. So when someone gives you a compliment, instead of saying, "Oh no, whatever," okay, it's just, "Well, thank you so much," or "Oh, that's very kind of you, thank you." Right?
yeah,
And it's when we have a small success, now we're a little bit more in the comfort zone, and now we can expand that comfort zone little by little, building your small successes. Before you can willingly receive a whole lot of money, you got to be able to willingly receive less money, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more, right? To receive great compliments and great affection and great, well, you got to be able to receive the little ones and build on those. So practice those. I mean, that's when catch yourself. Um, kind of dismissing the things. If someone holds a door open for you, it's, oh, thank you so much. Not, or, I always say if you're at the coffee machine at the uh, convenience store, right? And somebody offers to just, you have a cup and someone offers to pour it. Well, do you go, oh, no, I'll pour it myself? Or do you say, oh, thank you so much. It's very kind. All
yeah.
of those are receptivity.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, that's a concept like that was like big eye opening for me, because, we were taught in a way that you just give to some
Right.
extent, but receiving was like kind of a tough one. And what was the one advice that would you give, someone who, reading, haven't learned about go giving concept, but they don't believe in the go giving, or giving ideology is the best way to grow in life. um, so what advice would you give them that really help them to grow in life?
I would give them the same advice that Pindar gave Joe, only Pindar gave it in terms of the one condition in the story. And that was, you've got to apply each law that day you learn it, right? Because that's the only way we're going to be able to have, to know something works. And so as you learn the laws, begin applying them. And but but don't give up, because after one or two times it doesn't work out exactly as you want. Okay. But it's also not just a matter of faith either. It's a matter of understanding the logic of why it works. And here's an example I give, and I say this a lot when I speak at a sales conference. Okay. I'll often begin by saying, nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet. Okay. No one's going to buy from you because you need the money or you would like the sale to happen. That's not why they're going to buy. No one's going to buy from you just because you're a really nice person, right?
Yeah,
No,
that's
they're going to buy from you only because they believe that they will be better off by doing so than by not doing so. Now, I think everyone will agree with that, correct? In that case, doesn't it make logical sense that if you're focused just on yourself, you're probably not going to have a buyer? If you're focused on giving value to them, there's a much better chance they're going to buy. Is everybody going to? No, of course not. That's not, not everybody has to,
yeah,
right? In sales, just like, in baseball, it's, 3 hits out of 10, you're a Hall of Famer. And I know there's analogies to different sports all over the world that it's the same thing. You fail many more times than you succeed. That's not the point. You only need a certain amount of successes for it to work out beautifully.
yeah. So true. And someone in the comments mentioned, what are the great values a man should possess in order to be successful guy, personally or entrepreneurially?
That's a wonderful question, and I think values are the most important thing for us to understand about ourselves. Because so what is value, by the way? In the business sense, value is simply the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder, right? Well, it's the same with a personality, with a characteristic. What is it about you that you hold to be of value that other people are going to be attracted to? So someone who has obviously integrity, integrity is a wholeness. There's an authenticity to that, right?
Yeah,
What is authenticity? It's living congruently with your values. So if you believe in kindness, if you believe in honesty, but a kind honesty. Honesty doesn't mean that you say to rah, 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 rah. It means you're kind and diplomatic and tactful while you're still being honest and helpful to another person. Being trustworthy, being, caring about others, genuinely caring about others. These are all values that, I think um, are values that transfer to others, and that others would want to be in relationship with us should they think of us as having those values.
yeah, that's so true. I couldn't agree more than that. Like, literally, personally, I can see my journey for last few years. Um, Going from broke, making a decent living, one of the big key is sticking to that values, right?
Hmm.
And doing that day in day out is not an easy task.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Another value is consistently learning and bettering yourself.
Yeah,
That's another value, right?
true,
So,
because the
we
more you know, the more you can
exactly,
give.
absolutely. And so I think that's a great thing, in that, Venkat asks that, and it's something to really take on yourself and ask yourself, what is it that I value? What is not what does society say I should value? What do other people say I should value? What do I think I should value? No, what do I value and why?
Yeah, that's a great question. Only yourself can answer that question, right? And that leads me another important question here. Like, okay, I believe it. I get it. I have to be a go giver, but can I really make money being a go giver?
It's a lot easier to make money being a go giver than it is being a go taker. Uh, because, and again, it goes back to that whole premise that people don't buy from you for your reasons, they buy from you for their reasons. So if your reason um, is I want to make a lot of money, well, okay, so now you go into the sales conversation with that person, the sales presentation, and what's your focus is on the money you're going to make. Remember, they don't care about that. So if your focus is on the money instead of on their benefit, you're not going to ask the right questions. You're not going to listen carefully. You're going to be defensive when there are objections. You're going to be closing much too often and much too soon because it's all about you.
Yeah,
Okay. That's a go taker.
yeah,
A go giver is asking questions, they're listening, and they want to understand and they want to discover what that person truly needs, wants, and desires. They want to add insights that can help that person mitigate their challenges and leverage their opportunities. They are going to, when they have an objection, we're going to, make them feel good about it, and we're going to understand where they're coming from. We're going to work within the objection to get to the root cause of it instead of giving some standard answer. And by the time we ask them to take action, uh, well, they're going to take action on something they've already told us they want to do, right? And so when you're a go giver, it makes it so much easier to earn a lot of income. When you're a go taker, you can do it as a go taker, and plenty of people do. But
Yeah.
boy, is it tough. You have to work a lot harder. You can have clients, but you won't have loyal ones, not
Yeah.
ones who refer you and talk about you to others. Uh, so it's just a lot easier to do business as a go giver than not.
Yeah, I I completely agree with you. It's like that's a fundamentals that I think that keeps me going personally. Yeah, and sales, being from a salesperson side, I'm still a salesperson right now.
Me
I'm
too.
selling real estate, and I can relate to what you just said like so much, because there's a lot of 80% of the salespeople out there who don't even listen to their client needs.
Hmm.
They just offer what they have instead of listening
Exactly.
to their needs and giving the solutions that would benefit the potential client.
Hmm. Hmm.
They just think, oh, this person can get me $10,000 commission if I
Yep.
sell in this product. But if you're not doing it in the right way, uh, that could ruin your whole relation, and you could lose
Hmm.
potential business as well. Not only them, because
Absolutely.
their family, their friends. If you give them the right solutions, they're going to come back. That business will never stop. So
Absolutely.
such a powerful concept. And here Venkat again asking question, thanks for understanding, thanks for the answer. What value in precise, like the values that you're referring to? Probably I think that you already answered the question.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about a few of them. We talked about living in integrity, and integrity comes from the word, the same root as integer, which is a whole number. So integrity means you're whole with yourself. It means you are who you are. That's authentic. It's like what Gandhi was credited as saying. Integrity is when everything you think and everything you feel and everything you say and everything you do are in alignment. Right? I mean, that's integrity. So I think there's also, there's honesty, as I said, kind honesty, though, not the kind of, where people say, well, I'm brutally honest. Well, when people say they're brutally honest, they're usually much more interested in being brutal than they are in being honest. So I think we always have to measure how we communicate with others. I think kindness is a great trait. I think that, I think there's all those values that we can come up with that are maybe obvious ones and maybe some that aren't so obvious. But I think it's well worth. And you can do a Google search on values, personal values or characteristics, and go through all of them and mark down the ones. Mark them from 1 to 10. 10 are the ones you really relate to, right? There's 9 and there's 8 and there's 1 and so forth. And again, don't feel pressure to mark a 10 on the ones that society says should be a 10, because if they're not really your values, you're not going to be congruent with those.
Yeah, yeah. And here Sarvesh is asking a very interesting question. On the journey of success, is waiting with patience for the right time better, or executing right away is better?
So it's a great question, Sarvesh. And here's the thing: there's a time and place for everything. If the customer's need is right now, and they have enough information to that making a decision at this time is in their best interest, then right now is the time. If it's not, and a relationship needs to be built, and know, like, and trust is important to be established, and it's going to take some time, then patience is the right way. Overall, it's like anything else. You plant seeds, and it takes time for them to grow, but it doesn't have to take a long time for them to grow. Different seeds, take different amounts of time. So I think every situation is individual. I think that on the journey of success, it is a journey, right? So we never stop learning, we never stop reading, we never stop meeting people, creating those know, like, and trust relationships. And it's, it's almost like this big, huge funnel where sometimes it takes a month, and sometimes it takes a year, and sometimes it takes 2 days, and sometimes people just drop out of the funnel because they're never going to end up doing business. And sometimes it takes a long time, and sometimes it's right away. So I don't think it's a matter of, is one better than the other? I think it's when the time is correct, that's the correct time.
Yeah, I agree. Here, Venkat asking another question, um, because most people says that they sell values, which I don't understand it honestly.
Okay. I think what he's saying is they're selling value in terms of benefits, which,
He has a follow up question
oh,
here.
okay.
So
Many
many
times.
times I was kind and helped, but my turn didn't happen. Does it mean, sir, my values are not transferred to other person, or good karma takes time to show effect on? Very
Okay.
interesting question.
So let's dive a little bit deeper into this. Okay. You were kind and you helped, but it didn't happen. Well, when you're helping someone is a way of adding value to their lives. However, did you help in a way that they understood it to be of value? Sometimes people talk about how much value they give others. I'm not saying this about Venkat, but I'm just saying sometimes people say I gave all this value, but that's value as you see it as being of value. It may not have been something that person wanted or needed as value. It may not be something they understand to be of value. Remember, value is the relative worth or desirability of a thing. It's always in the eyes of the beholder, right? So unless we know that this person would find it to be of value, we can't say it was value. You can say you were kind, that's wonderful, that's lovely, and that you helped, but you don't really know that it helped. It may have, but maybe you did it perfectly, and they're just the kind that they either didn't need what you had to offer, or they were a go taker who would just who knows. And that's why you need to just do this as a way of life. You don't do it as a way to get something. You just do it because it works. And it doesn't mean your values aren't transferred. Well, your values are transferred if they see it as being of value. Okay. We always have to remember, karma. Yeah. I mean, I believe in karma, but that's not what the go giver is all about. Karma says, help a person across the street, help an old elderly person across the street, something good's going to happen. It might. I mean, I believe that's kind of true, right? That works. And really, that's more of a Western definition of karma, because really it's a new in the next life. It's from the but I know what he means. But we're not really talking about karma in terms of the go giver. Okay. When you're providing immense value to the lives of a lot of people, when you're planting a lot of seeds of goodwill, of great will, and you're finding out what these other people value, and you're doing that, what you're doing is you're creating what John and I call the benevolent context for your success. Okay. And a lot of times you can't necessarily see it in operation, but there is cause and effect. The cause is giving value, the effect is receiving. But you do need to ask yourself, Venkat, if the value you're giving others is is how they're understanding it to be of value.
Yeah, I think that's a very very valuable suggestion that you gave here, because I can relate to myself. Like few years ago when I was in college, I always used to think, oh, I'm being so kind to my friends. I don't know why they're avoiding. I used to get bullied, um, even though I was being nice to them. Then after I started the journey of reading books and understanding myself better, and when I look back and think, maybe I'm not giving the kind of kindness that they're expecting.
In a way that they relate to, right?
Yeah, so
Different people. Remember, people understand value, they understand happiness, they understand all the in their own way, according to their own set of beliefs and seeing the world.
yeah, yeah, and of course, that this is why I strongly recommend pick up the book, Go Giver.
Thank you.
Honestly, I really mean it. That the book, um, I read it just very recently. Like this is less than a month and a half ago. Um, Excuse me, throat is a little bit bad here. Um, After I read the book, like I bought 4 copies and gave it to my agents because I said like, go, you guys must read this book because we don't understand these concepts. No one really teaches about this kind of concepts and it's not available out there. So when you pick up this book and read page to page, it's a very small investment,
Well,
probably like less than $20,
that's
can give
great.
you a solid insight on maybe where you're missing that the value that you're thinking that you're giving to that person. So uh, maybe to understand Venkat, I think you must have picked this book and read deeper. Maybe I'll put it a link on in the description for the book if you don't find it on Amazon. Of course, if you just Google Go Giver, you'll find the book, the links
Yeah, and they
everywhere.
can also go to burg.com and they can, find they can read a chapter there if they'd like. And
Oh, that's even better. burg.com.
yeah, and when they go to the site too, there'll be a little pop-up thingy that they can subscribe to a free email that I send out 5 days a
Perfect.
week called Daily Impact.
Perfect. I put the link in the chat, guys. So, I would strongly recommend. And I know your time is valuable here. I took already extra 10 minutes from you. Bob, really, really, it's an honor to have you here.
The honor is mine. Thank you.
And thank you for such a wonderful book and looking forward to, read more books from you, more concepts that, add more value, for our life. So thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you guys who watched till here. If you still have any questions, make sure let us know in the comments below. And go check out Bob's website where you get access to the chapter. Maybe then decide whether this book makes sense to you to go further, spend your time. And I personally, I'm like a strong believer. Go giving is a way to go in life. Like like you mentioned, it gives you satisfaction. It gives you the returns. Returns doesn't take that long if you're giving the right value. That what, like you mentioned, like I started seeing my life change since I started giving. Very few real estate people focus on giving than receiving. So thank you, Bob. I don't want to talk anymore. I would just say just go read the book.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thanks so much for having me.
thank you. Have a good day.
Be well. Bye-bye.
Okay, so I'm going to spend another 15 minutes here because Bob, time is very tough to get here. So looks like Sarvesh has a follow-up question here. How important is financial freedom in pursuit of happiness, or does happiness not depend on the financial status? Sarvesh, that's really a great question because that's a question that I asked myself from my literal childhood. It really depends on you, but let's break it down. Your two questions: does happiness really depends on the financial status? Not really. The happiness depends on you personally. And this book actually is a great example. Like if you live with the concepts of go giver ideology, you will live happily because your day will be much more enthusiastic when you give so much. Um, and of course financial freedom is something is so important in the current generation because if you want to travel, if you want to send your kids to good school, or if you want to learn some skill, if you want to learn martial arts, or you want to learn dancing, or whatever you want, nowadays everything costs money. So there, you got to live under the roof, right? Like you have to have a place to live. You have to have a a vehicle to travel. It doesn't have to be Lamborghini. At least you have to have a car to travel, right? Like so there are basic needs that need to be taken care, and that would cost you money. That's why the financial freedom is important. But the financial freedom is the only way to be happy? Not really. If you're not happy every day, you're not going to achieve the financial freedom. If you're not perceiving your, the whatever the goals that you're trying to achieve with passion, with all your heart, you won't be happy. So it's a very interconnected the challenge there, interconnected situation. So financial freedom is important, I believe personally, and also being happy every day, even when you don't have financial freedom. Doesn't matter whether what stage you're in life. You, if you're not doing things that keeps you enthusiastic, keeps you happy, then you're not going in the right direction. Maybe you have to change your path, because if you're deep down not happy. So, and happiness has so many meanings, depends on person to person. Who are you? What makes you happy? Because what makes you happy is different from what makes me happy. What gives you fun for me is different. What's fun for Elon Musk is different from what's fun from Steve Jobs, what's fun from all the people out there. For Gandhi it's different, right? So you got to ask yourself that question: what makes you happy? Venkat, it's a great answer. It helped me to mental toughness. Glad to hear. Be kind and happy. Glad to hear, buddy. Sure, I'll read it. Look, giver. Thanks for the session. Fantastic, guys. Hope you enjoyed the session. Like I did, because I was like so desperately wanted to have Bob on the channel, because this book really reiterated all the concepts that I started to implement in my life. But there are also more that I learned from this book. Really inspired me to get the author for you guys. So thank you guys. Thank you for joining me. And if you guys still have any questions, just don't hesitate to come and join me live every Thursday. Ask me questions. Anything, don't hesitate to ask, because if you don't ask, you don't get answered. Um, Let me just quickly scroll through the questions here. If I missed anything before I hit the session, um, lot makes a lot of sense. Sarvesh, glad to hear, buddy. Thank you. Ankit, great session. Glad to hear. And yeah, Sarvesh, it's always two ways. You always give first in order to get something. Yeah, that's so true. Receiving was a concept that actually I was like shocked, because I don't know, maybe it's in the culture. Every person grew up differently. Personally, I was not receiving that well in my previous journey. But since I read this book, I'm like, I understood the power of receiving as well. Because when someone says something good for you, when someone says that you know to tell that you help them and whatever, if you receive something, instead of converting back saying, oh, don't worry about it, just saying thank you, thank you for being kind, appreciate it, that in return, not only you feel good about it, but also the person who is giving. Because don't forget, everyone loves to give, everyone loves to help, because you feel good about it. When you help someone, you feel good about it. So now you got to look from the other point of view. He's giving you. If you're not receiving it, that means you're not making their life that time happy. So yeah, the concepts are like such a interesting one to spend your few hours going through. And Amir Riza Mawaswi, a man of dishonor behind a big smile. Bro, I think you gotta be a little bit more precise with your words. Whatever you're saying, maybe come up with a reason. What happened? What's happening in your life? How can I help you? What did God made you feel bad about me? What's that dishonest behind the smiles? Let me know in the comments below. What's bothering you? I would love to help you. What's happening? If you don't tell what's happening and just give a statement that has no connectivity with anything, I cannot help. You got to be a little bit more precise. Bro, this is what hurting me, or this content, or this is something that I'm going through. Can you help me? That would give you some kind of a sense, or path. Hope that helps. As a student, looking up so much to you, I have seen the way you grew. You're really inspiring. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. It means a lot. I'm glad to hear, bro. You're a great person. Thank you, brother. you know I, that's a blessing. Today, I was on a call with a person speaks the same language where I from. Said me words that really made me so happy. Which is like he said, "Bro, the content that you're putting got me helped me to get out of my the mm, the this depression he's going through, because it gave him a hope that life could be better by doing certain things, going through certain actions." When I heard that, like, man, I literally had some tears rolled in my eyes. That's I think that's why I do this content. That's why I do this lives. It's for you guys, to help you to get out of things that you're going through. So don't hesitate to ask, and don't just make up reasons in your mind not to ask, or just give some certain kind of statements. Rather, just ask, what are you going through? What is making you feel bad or good? How is your life going? Share with me. I'm not a stranger. I'm Aditya Soma on the YouTube lives every Thursday for you. So, Ankit, it's great to see you smiling even after someone criticizing you. Love the energy and positivity you share. Thank you, Ankit. It's I strongly believe in, it would be some instant, some word that I used on any video, or it could be something that got made that person hurt, right? I don't know what hurted him. It could be something. Maybe, I talk a lot on my videos. Maybe some words that I used, who knows, right? I don't want to make that assumption. Rather, I want the person to explain me what made him to feel that way. So that way, maybe I could change certain things. Maybe, uh, I took some feedback. I receive the feedback, right? I love to. That's why I wanted this author to the book author, because I learned so much. But going back to the point, I love to hear what's happening. What if something that I'm doing is hurting multiple people, then I want to change, right? It's like I don't want to be uh, in the state where I'm not providing value to someone's time. Then I'm not eligible to receive the same amount. So that's why I'm curious about what hurted this person. So, Sarvesh, just curious, are you Telugu? Aditya, yes, of course, buddy. నేను తెలుగు హైదరాబాద్, నిజామాబాద్, తెలంగాణ, ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్, whatever you call that, I speak Telugu. Don't ask my friend silly questions, anyone. No, bro. No question is a silly question. You know what? Whatever questions that in your mind, don't hesitate to ask, because this 1 hour, the live that I do, it's for you guys, to help you guys. And also for me, I want to learn from you guys too, right? Like maybe some things that I don't know, I'm open to learn. Like Bob says, we have to be open to receive, uh, and we have to be willing to give. And trust me, guys, like those concepts I relate so much. And if you guys haven't read this book, go read it. And I strongly believe those concepts that he talks in this book. Like, I'm not an author, I don't have the specific writing skills to go through like such a beautiful way. But since I started living with the concept of giving, adding value, just like this videos, right? Like sharing what I know. I might not be the expert in my subject, but I'm being honest and authentic with my journey, what I'm learning. I shared my downsides. I shared, if you go watch some of my early videos, I shared about like how did I felt when I bought my first property. And I even shared some things like, when I lost money, I lost on one of the project for $80,000. I shared, all those like downsides, because it's not always the roses, nice, colorful life. In any journey that you're going through, you will go through the goods and bads. But if you're over the period, if you're progressing, that's all matters. And the progress, how can you measure your progress? Is how is your day look like? How do you feel throughout the day? What kind of thing are you going towards the life that you're desiring? That's what I feel is the progress. Yes, Venkat. Yes, I have a Telugu channel too. If you guys don't know, actually, maybe I'll let me put, if anyone Telugu people here, I just started Telugu channel recently because one, I enjoy talking, and two, that's a fun channel actually where there is more my family side, more the Telugu sarcasm because I'm a very pakka Telangana guy. The channel name is Canada Aditya Telugu channel. That's the channel name. Let me put the link in here if anyone a Telugu person watching this. It's a fun one. I share my travel videos. Um, yeah, yeah, a lot of things. If you're a Telugu person, go check out that. My favorite video is when you talked about when you live in Scarborough. I don't remember what was it. Remind me a little bit more. I'm at the first 10,000 thousand subscribers on your YouTube channel, and how do I grow more? Um, Great question. If you don't mind, stock market trader, can you tell me your name? That way I can tell, you know, call you with the name instead of like stock market traders. Um, so how do you grow? Number one is, you know, find the topics that people are looking for. When it comes to, like, by your name, I see that you're a stock trader, so you do day-to-day trading in using stocks, right? What kind of topics that the people who are getting into trading are looking for, and make those topics more often. So for example, for my goal of this channel is, I want to educate people who are getting into Windsor market, who's getting into real estate investing, and I make topics around that. I share stories of successful, people who bought their first property successfully, or successful investors who got certain level of success that they wanted for. I share about all those journeys, and I share pretty much like if someone looking for uh, how can I get my real estate license? That's a topic that people were searching. So, how do you know those topics? If you, you know, do keyword search. This website is very, very helpful to find more topics. Let me see. Hold on. It's called. Sorry, I'm just looking up here because I'm not a TubeBuddy. I'm not that good with this names. So TubeBuddy is the website that if you search, there you can search different keywords and how many people are searching for those keywords. So you got to find as many keywords as possible in the area that you're trying to, grow. So if you're looking to grow your channel in terms of stocks, then make those topics, find those topics that are getting trended in your area, and in your area of expertise, make more of those. And knowing how to put the thumbnails, how to write the titles, how to write the descriptions, so that YouTube will suggest your videos. Of course, that's a lot of learning process there, but I'm pretty sure there are a lot of YouTube channels who share knowledge on how to do these things correctly. So maybe search for, like, how to grow YouTube channel, and there are channels who share those tips. Go through that. So my personal suggestion is making the content that people searching for. The more searches, the more your channel will be found, the better. I post stuff about real estate more because I'm almost done getting my license and I want to specialize in pre-con. There you go. So now, if you want to become pre-con and about real estate, then change your name first. That's my first suggestion as a friend. Change your channel name to your name, because now stocks, real estate, I mean, two different topics, right? And two, even though you're going to talk about real estate, also talk about who are you? Where do you come from? What's your background? What made you to get into real estate? Start sharing those stories, because the more you can, more people can relate to you, the better. The more people can relate to you, the better. it's for them to continue to follow you and get you help. And like the I would strongly recommend, Hamza, go pick up this book, because if you're just getting started, it's going to help you immensely, because the concepts that you'll be learning from this book will help you even coming up with the content ideas, because yeah, it's going to be very very um, helpful for you to brainstorm the ideas. And also the last thing is, if you're just getting your license and you want to know how to do the social media, for those who don't know, me and my partner Sahas, we are doing actually a mastermind for realtors, specifically in real estate field, who want to grow their social media and who want to grow their the sales. So probably join that mastermind. It's going to be a great investment for you, because if you really want, and if you're already doing it, if you're already in it, just don't know how to navigate through the changes, then this mastermind is for you. Let me see if I can put a link in the description. Let me see if I can find a link here quickly. Or it should be on my Instagram bio. If you go check out there, you will be able to get all the information about the um, mastermind that I'm hosting. That really will help you, because that mastermind is purely about social media for real estate agents, on how I was able to do it, and how my marketing manager, who is actually went from like literally less than a few thousand subscribers to over 150,000 followers on Instagram, less than 4 weeks. Yep. So you will be learning all those secrets through this mastermind. It's going to be like a 2 days full days event in person. Of course, we can meet in person. We'll be having lunch and dinner breakfast together, and learning, and plus another 4 weeks virtual Zoom session for 2 hours every week, where we will be giving a lot of homework and checking those, giving feedback, making all the changes, suggesting you on that. How likely is it possible to get an appointment to meet you, Aditya? I would like to share my plan in real estate and get advice and experience people like you, that from Telugu person. So of course, Sarvesh, I would suggest, like, there is number and email address in the description. Send an email or give us a call. It's going to be my office number. My assistant will ask you some questions, and she'll schedule accordingly. But this life's also one of the great way. If you have a question, ask your question here, because now, of course, we'll do in person, and then I'm doing meetups. If you're, I don't know which city you're in, I'm connecting almost now every week, every month, or every alternative month, meetups here. One was just done on 10th, so the next one will be coming in February. So maybe that would be a great place for us to meet. Yeah, the contact info is in the description. Make sure reach out to us. We're more than happy to help you. I believe advice from someone like you for an international student like me would be very valuable. Glad to hear, brother. If you're a student, what you're doing right now is fantastic. You're on the right track. Keep reading books, keep learning, and start working within the field. If you want to get into real estate, maybe start working for someone in the real estate field, whichever the city you're in. Do some leases. You can do leasing for some investors. Make connections. Go for the networking events in your city. You can learn. And if you're starting when you're already a student, that's a great place to start, because I wish I started when I'm a student. I started like almost 5 years after I'm in Canada. That's when I learned about real estate. I'm still thankful I got in, because there are a lot of people who haven't got after. But if you're starting when you're a student, then that's even a great place to. So glad to hear that. Aditya, I used to own six-figure business trading options and teaching clients, and I had extremely strong following on Instagram and engaged audience. I stopped trading for religious reasons. So that's a tough one. I'm glad to hear that you have already a great, extremely strong following. And it's the same concept, bro. If you already did it using one concept, you can do with another concept. There's no difference. At the end, what you used to do, go back and think What have you done in order to grow that engagement and audience on your Instagram? Do exactly the same concepts apply. And why would you close your Instagram? If you're closing, stopping the tradings for religious reason, don't stop the Instagram. Keep the, just change the name. Just change the name, because your followings are not going anywhere. Most of the followers, maybe, they stick around with you maybe because of your, your personality. So the people who already like and trust you, it's more easier for them to do business with you. So just keep continuing. Fantastic. If you're growing YouTube channel, I would still continue the Instagram as well. If I were you, if you already had following, strong following, I would continue that. I would not give up on that. Thank you so much, Aditya. Give so much positivity. Cannot wait to meet you. We need people like you. Thank you, brother. Glad to hear. Oops, it's already 8:05. I didn't realize I gotta go meet up a friend. Um, we have some discussions, plans for one of my project that is going on. So guys, thank you so much for hopping on this live, and looking forward to see you at the next live. Until then, any real estate agents who haven't looked at my mastermind that is coming up, go click my bio on Instagram. I'll see if I can put the link in the description or in the comments. With that, see you guys. Have a wonderful evening. Take care.